In the last video, we talked about water as the medium for life, but today we are going even deeper into what actually controls life itself, DNA. Every single trait you have, from your physical features to how your body grows and functions, is determined by DNA. So in this video, we are going to understand what DNA is, how it is structured, how it replicates, and how it ultimately leads to the production of proteins that run your body. Let's start with the basics. DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, and it acts like an instruction manual for living organisms. It contains all the information needed to build and maintain cells. In eukaryotic cells, DNA is found inside the nucleus, while in prokaryotes, it is found freely in the cytoplasm. But DNA doesn't work alone. It works closely with another molecule called RNA to carry out its functions. Now, DNA is made up of smaller repeating units called nucleotides. Each nucleotide has three parts: a phosphate group, a pentose sugar called deoxyribose, and a nitrogenous base. There are four different bases in DNA: adenine, thymine, cytosine, and guanine. In RNA, thymine is replaced by a similar base called uracil. So RNA contains adenine, uracil, cytosine, and guanine. These nucleotides join together to form a long chain. They are connected by phosphatester bonds, which form between the phosphate group of one nucleotide and the sugar of the next. This creates what is called the sugar-phosphate backbone. The sequence of nitrogenous bases along this chain is extremely important because it carries the genetic information. Now here's where things get really interesting. DNA is not just a single strand, it forms a double helix structure, which looks like a twisted ladder. The sugar-phosphate backbone forms the sides of the ladder, and the nitrogenous bases form the rungs. But these bases don't pair randomly. There are specific base pairing rules. Adenine always pairs with thymine, and cytosine always pairs with guanine. This happens because of hydrogen bonding. Adenine and thymine form 2 hydrogen bonds, while cytosine and guanine form 3, making that pair slightly stronger. Another important feature of DNA is that the two strands run in opposite directions. This is called antiparallel structure. One strand runs from 5' to 3', and the other runs from 3' to 5'. This arrangement is crucial for processes like DNA replication. Speaking of replication, before a cell divides, it needs to copy its DNA so that both new cells get identical genetic information. This process is called DNA replication. It starts when the double helix unwinds and the hydrogen bonds between the base pairs break, effectively unzipping the molecule. Each original strand then acts as a template for a new strand. Free nucleotides in the cell pair up with the exposed bases according to the base pairing rules, adenine with thymine, and cytosine with guanine. An enzyme called DNA polymerase then joins these nucleotides together, forming the new strand. At the end of this process, two identical DNA molecules are formed, each consisting of one original strand and one newly synthesized strand. This is why replication is called semi-conservative. Now, DNA stores information, but proteins are the molecules that actually perform most functions in the body. So how does DNA lead to protein production? This happens through a process called protein synthesis, which occurs in two main stages: transcription and translation. In transcription, a segment of DNA is used as a template to produce messenger RNA, or mRNA. This process takes place in the nucleus. The DNA strand unwinds, and an enzyme called RNA polymerase builds a complementary mRNA strand. The key difference here is that RNA uses uracil instead of thymine, so adenine pairs with uracil. Once the mRNA is formed, it leaves the nucleus and travels to the ribosome in the cytoplasm. This is where translation occurs. The ribosome reads the mRNA in groups of 3 bases called codons. Each codon codes for a specific amino acid. Transfer RNA, or tRNA, brings the correct amino acids to the ribosome based on the codon sequence. These amino acids are then joined together to form a chain, which folds into a functional protein. And this is incredibly important because proteins control almost everything in your body, from enzymes that speed up chemical reactions to structural components like muscle fibers. Even your training, muscle growth, and recovery all depend on proteins, which ultimately depend on the information stored in your DNA. So when you think about it, DNA is not just a molecule. It is a complete instruction system that controls how life functions, grows, and adapts. Changes in DNA, called mutations, can sometimes cause diseases, but they can also create variation, which is essential for evolution.